Hi everyone, welcome to the channel. My name is Nick Cosgrove and I am back with this week's No Filter Q&A. This is the episode where I answer all questions related to diet, training, and supplementation I received over the last 7 days from our in-house clients, online clients, as well as a few of our online followers. Remember, if you have any questions related to your nutritional plan, workout program, supplements you are currently taking, not taking, or considering taking, please feel free to email me those questions at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me your questions on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. All right, let's get started with this week's No Filter Q&A with question number one. Nick, are prawns and shrimp okay to eat? Yeah, prawns and shrimp are great sources of protein, lean protein, very little fat, zero carbs. So they're an excellent protein source to add to your nutritional plan. The thing is, though, most people, when they consume prawns and they consume shrimp, they put butter or they put sauces on top. So you don't want to add that to it, okay? But on their own, they're great. They're fine. One of the reasons a lot of bodybuilders don't usually put prawns and shrimp on their nutritional plans is because they're not really filling though. You have to consume a lot of shrimp and a lot of prawns just to be full. So, and it's not as widely available. It's easier to cook chicken breasts, turkey breasts. So that's why a lot of bodybuilders don't use it. But I've used shrimp and prawns on my own diets in the past. So there's nothing wrong with it. You get a lot of people that talk about the potential of raising your cholesterol levels, as in your LDL levels. Well, if you have shellfish. I don't necessarily believe that. I think that if you genetically have high LDL levels, you're going to have them regardless. There's a lot worse things that you could put on your diet than shellfish if you're worried about your cholesterol levels, right? Saturated fats, too much trans fats, right? Fried foods, alcohol. So those are foods that I would limit before limiting shellfish. Okay. It's the same thing when doctors tell people don't consume eggs if your cholesterol levels are too high. That's another ridiculous concept, right? So shellfish, in my opinion, unless you have an allergy to them, they're fine. Okay. So have as much prawns and shrimp as you like, but just remember you don't want to coat that with butter. You don't want to coat it with sauces. Just have it on its own. You can throw some shrimp into a salad, but it's a great protein source. Okay. Next question. Nick, do you think it's necessary to eat whole vegetables? I drink cold pressed vegetable juice, but I'm wondering if this is not as beneficial as eating vegetables. Well, if you're drinking cold pressed vegetable juice, guess what? You're having vegetables. You're just having it in liquid format as opposed to solid format. Okay. I had this question from a client in-house the other day as well, who's been consuming greens powder. And he asked me, he's like, am I getting enough nutrients? And I'm like, it's always best to go for the natural source. Okay. So you want to go for the whole vegetables, obviously. But if you're in a time crunch or you're like me and you're very busy and you don't have time to cook vegetables every day, those green powders and the cold pressed juices work great. They really do. And the cold pressed juice is the exact same thing. Like I said, you're just having it in liquid format. So that's fine. You're not losing any nutrients, okay, from doing that. Uh, I think there's a misconception that people think that those juices don't work or the powders are garbage, and that's not true. Because if you look at the nutrients and the nutritional value of the powders and the juices, all your nutrients are in there, okay? Will your body digest them the same as they would taking in whole green vegetables? Probably not. But at the same time, at least you're getting them in. Okay. So it's better than not having them at all. And I would say it's a close comparison when you're comparing the greens powder to whole vegetable sources. I would. Okay. From all the research I've done, I can see that the nutritional benefits and the micronutrient contents pretty much match up. And the cold pressed juices, if you want to have cold pressed juices instead, that's fine. Just make sure that those juices are not mixed in with like fruit juices, for example, because I know some of those smoothie places, they'll do that. They'll add in fruit juices, which are full of sugar. So you don't want to be doing that. Okay. So if you just want to have a vegetable juice, that's totally fine. I see nothing wrong with that. You're still going to get all your nutrients in. I made a post on my Instagram a few weeks ago about the greens powder that I use, and I use 1 scoop of that daily, sometimes 2 scoops of that. But I find it gives me loads of energy. So it's full of antioxidants. So I think that's fine. Okay. I don't think you always have to consume whole green vegetables. I think that's a dated, like you have to do. But if you're in a jam, the whole greens powders work great and the cold pressed juices work really well. Just make sure that your cold pressed juices are mixed with water and not those fruit juices. Okay. Nick, how do you make the gym more enjoyable for your clients? I honestly hate going to the gym, but know I need to do it. I, I don't think any of my clients would tell you that I make the gym more enjoyable for them. Um, However, when my clients come to the gym, we're there to work. So I don't have a single client on my roster that could tell you that we have lackluster workouts. Every single person, whether I'm working with them in a private session, partner session, or a small group class session on the floor, I give them 110% of my energy and my effort to every single workout. So they feed off that. And because they feed off that, they match that energy. So it's not that people love going to the gym. It's just that if you have someone like a trainer, for example, that can hold you accountable, and then once you're at the gym, can not only motivate you, but inspire you to lift heavier, lift more intensely, push you to your max and beyond your max, that's what keeps people coming back to the gym. So it doesn't have to be a trainer. If you have a training partner, maybe it's a friend or family member that is consistently training with you, that's a great source of accountability as well. But people who hire trainers don't necessarily love the gym. I bet you a lot of people who hire trainers would tell you they hate going to the gym, but that accountability is huge. It keeps them on track and it pushes them to go beyond their potential in the gym. So I don't have any fancy tricks or gimmicks that I use to get people into the gym. I don't tell people it's going to be a fun workout. It's going to be a hard workout. But if you do what I say and you push yourself, you're going to feel better and you're going to look better. And that's what's important. Because remember, you're going to the gym to get results. You're not going to the gym to have a good time. Okay. You want to go have a good time, go to a bar, go to a club, okay, go to a restaurant. But the gym is not supposed to be this great exhilarating experience where it's social hour. No. Um, you've got to find what motivates you to get off your ass and get in that squat rack, get under that bar, squat heavy, bench heavy, lunges, hack squats, whatever you're doing, you've got to find that what's going to motivate you. And for a lot of people, it's that necessity for an accountability from a trainer and a motivational factor that trainer provides. Not to mention that when you go to the gym, if you have a trainer, you don't have to plan out your workout. You don't have to wait for pieces of equipment. You're in a private facility. So the trainer can set up your circuits or your supersets, whatever you're doing, and make sure that you're going from point A to point B. And you can just put yourself on autopilot and do the exercises. So that's another reason why people hire personal trainers. So like I said, it doesn't have to be a personal trainer, but my recommendation to you is stop thinking that the gym needs to be enjoyable, okay? And start thinking, how am I going to maximize my time in the gym and get the most out of each and every workout? And whether that means working with a trainer or working with a friend that's going to hold you accountable, that's what you should be looking for in order to maximize your results. Okay. Okay. Nick, I'm having a hard time getting in enough protein. I max out around 100 grams a day and just can't fit in anymore. How can I get in more protein without making myself sick? My recommendation, if you're trying to get in more protein and you're struggling with food sources, go for things like egg whites and protein powder. Those are quick, easy digesting food sources, and they give you great protein amounts per serving. But also, because they have nutrients in them already, you're also getting the benefits as if you were to have like a chicken breast or a turkey breast, right, from whole food sources. Okay, so that's my recommendation: is go for something that's easy to digest, that's quick and it's convenient. So egg whites, God, you put egg whites in anything. You can even put egg whites in your protein shake and have more protein. I will say this though. I would not recommend consuming more than 30 grams per protein per serving. Again, this is a generic number, but for men, my recommendation is to not exceed more than 30 grams of protein per serving. And for women, it's no more than 20 grams per serving. Okay. That's just a general rule that I stick to. Obviously, there's exceptions to this rule, and I make revisions when I work with people on their nutritional plans. If I'm working with a woman, for example, who's getting ready for a bikini competition and she's 2 weeks out, her protein might be, 25 grams to maybe even 30 grams because her carbohydrates and her fats are so low at this point. But like I said, there's exceptions to the rule. But for the general population, my recommendation is to keep your protein for women between 20 to 25 grams max, and for men between 25 grams to 30 grams max per meal. Your body can only digest so much protein in one sitting, right? So how much protein you need? Well, that's going to depend on your activity level. That's going to depend on your body weight. And when I say your body weight, I don't just mean your overall body weight. I mean your lean body weight. Okay. So if you're someone who's 100 pounds overweight, let's say you weigh 300 pounds, you don't necessarily need to get in 600 grams of protein. Because usually what I'll do with people is I'll take their weight and I'll times it by two or I'll times it by 1.5, depending again on the person. Okay. But if you're someone who's very lean and you're sitting in around 200 pounds and maybe you only have 8% body fat, well, in that case, I might give you about 350 to 400 grams of protein, right? So you just have to be careful because you don't want to consume too much protein because that can be very hard on the kidneys. And at the end of the day, your body can only digest so much in one sitting. Okay. So that's why it's important to space out your meals. Otherwise, it's like the analogy I use if you put a cup under a running faucet, what's going to happen? The water overflows the cup, right? So it's the same thing, it goes to waste. So it makes no sense to consume an abundance amount of protein, okay, especially in one sitting. So that's my recommendation to you is consume things like egg whites and protein powder. Because even though, and I think I did say they're whole food sources, they're not necessarily whole food sources, but they act as whole food sources because the nutrients in those products are excellent. It's pure protein, no fat, zero carbs, easy to digest, and also not very filling. So it shouldn't make you sick. Okay. Because you have to consume a lot of chicken breasts or a lot of turkey breasts or a lot of cod, a lot of tilapia just to get in, if you're trying to get in, for example, 200 grams of protein, you have to consume a lot of that. So do it an easy way. Egg whites, protein powder, best way to go. Okay. Okay, Nick, I've heard you talk about the mental health benefits of working out. I find myself feeling anxious a lot throughout the day. I don't want to take anxiety medication, but would like to know if you think I should force myself to work out when I'm feeling anxious. I have to be careful how I answer this question because I can't really, I'm not a mental health professional, right? I'm not a psychiatrist. I'm not a therapist. So that's out of my scope of practice to tell you what you should do if you're feeling anxious. I can, however, tell you from working with hundreds of people over the years, many who do suffer from anxiety, depression, um, that working out has numerous benefits on their mental health. They've told me this. Okay. If people are feeling stressed and they work out, they feel so much better. And I can attest to this myself because there's times where I'll feel stressed out. I'll go to the gym and I'll have a workout that I feel is going to be a really bad workout because I've got a lot on my mind, whether it's relationship issues or whether it's business issues, whatever it is, something going on in my personal life. And I'm like, this is not going to be a good workout. I really don't want to go here. But then after 10 minutes of training, it's gone. And I can only speak for myself about this, but I feel like the weight's been lifted off my shoulders and I feel better. And so I attribute that to exerting that energy, that built up energy. And whether it's negative energy, maybe there is some stress in my life or anxiety, but because I can exert that energy in a positive manner, I start to feel better. And as the workout goes on, I start to feel better and better. And it's not a false sense of feeling better because that feeling lasts with me for the remainder of the day. So I can't tell you if you feel anxious to go to the gym because a lot of times people who do feel anxious, they can't even leave the house. Or if they're depressed, they can't even leave the bed, right? So it's easy for someone to say, go to the gym. Well, if you're feeling depressed or anxious, it's very hard to go to the gym, right? But what I would recommend is try to get in a routine where you're going to the gym at least on a daily basis so it becomes a habit. And that way, it's something that you actually do start to enjoy because you are pushing yourself and you can feel the benefits of going to the gym afterwards. Okay. So you know that, I don't feel the best right now, but I know how I'm going to feel after I work out. And you talk to anyone who does a workout, they'll tell you that they always feel better after the workout. And I truly believe, not to mention it's just the endorphins, it's just the fact that we've exerted all this pent up energy. Human beings, we're meant to move. We're not meant to sit all day. Sitting, I've said this time and time again, is the worst thing that we can do. Your body was not designed to sit at a desk for 8 hours a day. Your body was designed to move. Your body was designed to be pushed beyond its limits. Okay. And that's good for your body. I always tell people it's not good to feel comfortable. I always like to feel a little uncomfortable. I always like to feel a little hungry. Okay. Because that keeps me moving, it keeps me striving. So again, it's difficult for me to answer that question because I'm not a mental health expert, but from talking to numerous clients over the years who have suffered and continue to suffer with anxiety and depression, I think we all get a little bit anxious from time to time. That's normal, right? We all get a little depressed from time to time, but they've told me that working out is one of the best things that they can do for their mental clarity. And I would agree with that based on what I've noticed myself whenever I felt a little bit anxious or stressed. So my recommendation, try to get into a routine. And as I said, even to the first person, it's not that the gym is necessarily enjoyable to go to, but hold on to that feeling that you're going to have after workout and think about that feeling, how good you feel after your workout's done, how much energy you have, how much positivity you have, how much mental clarity you have. And try to think about that when you're feeling like, I don't want to go to the gym. I'm depressed. I'm anxious. Just go back to that feeling of how you feel after your workouts. And that might help. Okay. Nick, what's a good protein powder to take? I'm going to pick some up this weekend and want to know what's the best one on the market. Essentially, as long as it's a whey isolate protein powder, it's going to be a good product. Okay. It doesn't really matter the brand. I'm sure there's some brands that are better than others out there. I mean, you can get the New Zealand clean protein powder. It's going to be a little bit more expensive, but that's just basic whey isolate protein powder with no fillers, no sweeteners. So that's probably the best one on the market. But if you're on a budget and you don't want to spend $100 or 100, I don't know how much they cost now, $120 for a 2 pound bag, you can just pick up a whey isolate protein powder. If you belong to Costco, they sell whey isolate protein powder. And I always tell clients, as long as the protein powder you're consuming contains no more than 3 grams of carbs per serving and no more than 2 grams of sugar per serving and a minimum of 25 grams of protein per serving, that's a great protein powder to use. Okay. And you'll find that in a good whey isolate protein powder. So, like I said, if you're someone who's really against the sweeteners and you don't want to have artificial flavors, then you might want to go for like the New Zealand clean whey that I talked about, clean isolate whey protein powder. It's going to be triple the amount. But if you are someone who's on a budget and you're trying to be careful of how much you spend on supplements and vitamins, my recommendation to you, just find a good whey isolate protein powder, no more than 3 grams of carbs, no more than 2 grams of sugar, and no less than 25 grams of protein per serving. And that should be sufficient. Okay. Uh, Nick, I hate the way my legs look. As a woman, I've always struggled with my lower body, but notice as I'm getting older, my thighs and butt are starting to look worse. I do Pilates 4 times a week and do 2 HIIT classes each week as well. I'm open to weight training, but I don't want my legs to get any bigger. How should I train them so they don't get too big? Okay, so this is a question that I get from new female clients all the time. They want to build up their butt and they want to firm their legs, but they don't want to go too heavy in the gym because they're under this misconception that their legs are just going to look even more gigantic. Not true. Okay. Muscle is not going to make your legs look bigger. Fat is what makes your legs look bigger. So, in order to lose the fat and to build the muscle, you have to change your body composition. Pilates will help to a degree. HIIT classes will help to a degree. But if you don't have the muscle under that fat, you're never going to build that solid, lean, dense muscle bellies that I've spoken about for years. So this is where the weight training is so important. Okay. And you can do all the cardio in the world. You can do all the yoga in the world. But if you're not weight training, you're never going to have muscular legs. And when I say muscular, I don't mean freaky muscular legs like the ones I posted up on my Instagram from when I used to compete. I just mean that nice, solid, lean muscle bellies. I know what you're talking about because I work with tons of women. I know what you're looking to achieve. But you're not going to achieve that unless you lift heavy weights. Because once you start lifting heavy weights, that muscle will build. That fat will go down because, as I've talked about in the past, the more muscle you have, the more fat you burn. The more muscle you carry, the more calories you burn in a rested state, which will equate to more fat loss. So you're not going to get bigger thighs from weight training. It's not going to happen like that, especially as a woman. Okay. Men, yes, because men, we have more testosterone than women. So, yes, our legs do get bigger. That's going to happen, but not for women. And if you are truly concerned about that happening, my recommendation, do what I do with people, which is keep your rep range between 10 to 15, okay, with a moderately heavy weight. So not a ridiculously heavy weight that you can only get 1 or 3 reps with, but a weight that you can get a good 10 to 15. And that should be a struggle. Like when you get that between that 10 to 15 rep range, those last 5 reps should be a struggle, okay? Um, Throw in drop sets, throw in supersets, throw in some circuit training, and you're going to notice that your legs become more firm and tight. I hate using that word tone, so I'm going to really try to refrain from using it here. But if that's the look you're looking for, that toned look, That's what you're going to achieve with incorporating resistance training on a regular basis. So my recommendation, take a few Pilates sessions out, incorporate a few weight training sessions, and not just for your legs. You want to make sure that you're also training your upper body. So you don't want to have any muscular imbalances. So if you're not in the gym training weights, you're making a mistake, especially if you're struggling in that area. So it's the one thing I do tell a lot of my female clients too, who just want to focus on their lower body. I'm like, you're going to look silly. You're going to have this great lower body and you're going to have this oddly looking upper body. So you don't want to create muscular imbalances. Same thing I tell the guys who just want to train their upper body and don't want to train their legs. You're going to have this great looking upper body, but these tiny little stick legs. Not good. So my recommendation, start training your legs, train them with moderately heavy weights. Make sure you're training with the utmost amount of intensity in the gym. Drop sets, supersets, keep those reps between 10 to 15, and you should achieve the results that you're looking to achieve with your lower body. Okay. Okay, a few more questions here. Nick, how can I stop myself from leaning too far forward while doing squats? It's starting to hurt my back. Very common. So my first recommendation is shoes off. Okay. If you're not already doing this, this is crucial. Every single person I work with, I advise them to take their shoes off when they squat. And every single person I work with that has their shoes off when they squat, they actually notice that they feel the squat more in not just their quads, but their glutes and their hamstrings. So they're able to develop a greater mind to muscle connection with those muscle bellies. Why? Well, your calcaneus, also known as your heel, will have a better contraction into the floor, and therefore it's going to allow you to push up through those hamstrings and glutes more efficiently. When you're wearing a shoe, and I don't care how expensive your shoe is, it's never going to match your natural arch in your heel, ever. Okay, so you're not able to create that mind to muscle connection with the heel and the floor that you can when your shoes are off. So that's number one. Number two is forget this whole toes forward. Open your stance up. So what I mean by that is you want to create a V stance with your legs. So your knees should be going out to the corners of the squat rack. Okay. You don't need to take a super wide stance. In fact, I recommend about a slightly wider than shoulder width apart stance when squatting. Okay. This will allow you to get a better contraction throughout your quadriceps, your hamstrings, and your glutes. But most importantly, in your case, it's going to allow you to stay back. And as you push up, visualize yourself pushing your weight backwards. When you start to do that and you start to create that mind to muscle connection, you're never going to lean forward. Whenever I tell clients to squat in the gym, I always tell them, I want you to pick a spot in this room, any spot, but it has to be a spot that's not moving, which means I can't have you looking at yourself. Reason why is when people start looking at themselves when they squat, they tend to lean forward as fatigue sets in. I've seen it time and time again. So what I try to get clients to do is pick a spot, maybe it's up top in the corner of the mirror, and keep looking at that spot. And what you're trying to do is you're trying to create a mind to muscle connection with the muscles that you're pushing. So in the case of a barbell back squat, that's going to be your quadriceps. Obviously, that's the primary muscle group. But the secondary muscle groups, also known as your synergist muscle groups, are going to be your hamstrings and your glutes. Okay. So if you ever watch any of my squatting videos that I've put up on Instagram, watch where I'm looking. I'm never looking in the mirror, ever. I'm always picking a spot. Usually I like to look up. So I find if I look up, my body stays up, my chest stays up. I don't tilt my head up. I just make sure I'm looking up, and that makes sure everything stays back retracted. And I take pressure off the lumbar region and keep it where it needs to be on my glutes, hamstrings, and quads. One more thing, if you are lifting more than your body weight, in my opinion, you should be wearing a weight belt. Okay. It's the only exercise that I wear a weight belt for, my barbell back squats. And honestly, I've never had back issues, and I attribute it to wearing that weight belt because I squat 315. That's more than double my weight. So I've got to be careful, right? Or it's almost more than double my weight, I should say. I'm not 110 pounds. So it's a lot of weight though going on my back. And so in order to protect my back and preserve my joints and my ligaments, I like to wear a weight belt. And I strongly advise you that if you are lifting more than your body weight, that you wear a weight belt. All right. Last question. Uh, I just lost my space. Oh, there it is. Nick, do you ever get so burned out from training clients that you find it hard to train yourself? Ah, no. And the reason I don't is because I think of working out like my job. It's my job to look a certain way. It's my job to practice what I preach. So even on the days where if I've trained, let's say 12 sessions on the gym floor and I've done a whole bunch of online consultations, I'll still make sure to get my workout in at some point. Sometimes it's in the middle of that day, sometimes it's at the end of that day, but it's my job. It's my job to be fit, it's my job to be healthy. Who wants to hire a fat, out of shape trainer? And I'm not trying to fat shame anyone, but that's the reality is that part of their job, if you are a personal trainer or coach, people look to you to aspire to not necessarily look how you look, but that can motivate them and say, wow, that person has a fairly good looking physique. That person obviously takes good care of themselves, right? That person is not struggling to get upstairs. That person is very fit, very active, lots of energy. And that translates to the workouts that I do after a long day, or even before a long day, or in the middle of a long day. So my workouts are non-negotiable. Whether I want to do them or not, I never allow myself to talk myself out of them because I think of them as my job. And it's not just about the aesthetics, but it's also the whole idea of practicing what you preach. I've seen trainers who honestly, they don't even train themselves. They just train people and then they leave. I never see them work out. And it translates to not just their physique, but also their work ethic as a whole. Because these are the type of people who get tired too easily, or get sick too often, or come late for their sessions. I'm talking about the trainers, not the clients. So I feel that if you're in this industry, if you're working in this industry as a fitness professional and you truly want to be successful, you have to go all in. And that means you have to go all in with your business. You have to go in all in with your service. You have to give 110% to each and every session that you train clients on the floor. Online program, same thing. You have to get back, in my opinion, you should be getting back to your emails of clients at least within 24 hours. I always get back to clients by the end of the day, no matter what, on all my emails. But I attribute that to my work ethic with my own workouts because they're non-negotiable, because that's part of my business model. That's who I am. So to answer that question, no, I don't allow myself to get burned out. Sure, there's times I don't want to do it, but so what? I had first world problem. I don't go, oh, I don't want to do it. Poor me. I have to work out. I feel, no, this is great. I'm actually physically able to work out. I'm in a gym where I can just go from a session with a client and now work out. How great is that? How convenient is that? So I feel very fortunate. I don't feel like, oh man, here I go. I have to go do a leg day. I'm like, no, this is great. I get to do my legs right now. And, I've always thought of it like that. I've never felt like, poor me, I have to go work out. I always think, how lucky am I that I'm able to work out? Because there's a lot of people who are physically unable to work out, or they live in countries where they may not have access to gyms like we do here in Canada. So no, I always feel very lucky, very fortunate to be able to work out, to move my body, and to practice what I preach, and hopefully inspire and motivate my clients to do the same. So I turn it into a non-negotiable. Okay, it's the same way I treat my business. I turn it to a non-negotiable. I don't take sick days. I don't take personal days. That's me. I get back to emails within a reasonable time frame, as in like 4 to 12 hours in my case, but not everyone has to do that. And yeah, that's just the way I've been my whole life. And I truly believe that's why I've become so successful with my business, is because I always give each and every workout that I do on my own 110%, which translates towards my business. So I think if you're a personal trainer and you're not someone that works on a regular basis, it really affects the way that you run your business. And it shows not just in your physique, but in your work ethic. Anyway, that's it for this week's No Filter Q&A. This episode will be going up on Monday, January the 27th. As a reminder, if you have any questions related to your diet, training, or supplementation, please feel free to email me at nick@foreverfitperformance.com, or you can DM me on my Instagram at @fitcosgrove_. Thank you all for watching. Thank you for supporting my YouTube channel, my online coaching business, and my in-house personal training business here in Vancouver, British Columbia. I truly do appreciate all the support. Thank you all once again and have a fantastic week. Bye for now.